Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night for all of you that are connecting to this webinar about built-in sensitive info type, custom sensitive info types, and exact data match. We will review all those topics during this session. I will try to demo all the stuff. And to start, the agenda for this webinar is about concept, first of all. Then we will see the creation through the web interface. I assume that some of you have experience in this point. And then we will go more in deep with using PowerShell and XML. This can be a very helpful solution because we can export, we can back up our sensitive info types, we can reuse our sensitive info types, and then we will go through exact data match. That is very important in this point. To start first, we will talk about some concepts. In general, sensitive info types is a set of patterns, logical connection, but that can be based on regular expressions, keywords, dictionaries, functions, and other stuff, or a mix of all of that. In general, I have several experience here with other customers creating several custom sensitive info types based only on keywords, only on dictionaries. And that pattern, for in a sensitive info types, we can have several patterns, and we will see all of that. And to start looking for that pattern, we will need to identify our primary element, then a character proximity, supporting element, and the confidence level. It's more easily if we saw in this way. Our primary element is the one that we will use as a trigger to looking for more evidence, or maybe our primary element is enough to say that we have a sensitive information type. But if that primary element is not enough, we need to set a character proximity. That character proximity, normally the default is 300, and that means from our primary element, we will looking for 150 supporting element to the left and 150 supporting element to the right. But in one sensitive info type, we can have different patterns for different confidence level. That means, and we will see that on the presentation, what mean this confidence level. As an example, and I will show you that is very important to understand. The credit card number, sensitive info types, the built-in, we have as a primary element the credit card number, and plus when this credit card number is set in high confidence, we are looking for branding, CVV keywords, and the function for expiration date. But if we set the sensitive info types in low confidence, we will looking only for the primary element. That is the credit card number. What's happened? This is one of the principal points to have in mind is understand the confidence level. All the people try to put on DLP labels, MDCA, the confidence level on high. But when we set the confidence level on high, we are looking for several additional evidence. With more evidence, we will set our confidence level on high. With less evidence, we will set our confidence level on low. But that can be generate less false positive or more false positive. And here we are not seeing false negative. What's happened? The same case with the credit card number, and we will discuss about that and other sensitive info types. The credit card number set on high confidence is looking for more evidence. Not only the number, is looking for branding, Visa name, MasterCard, American Express, several other names, or CVV keywords related or a functions for expiration date. But if someone is sending a list of credit card numbers, that word maybe that keywords maybe will not be present, and that will be transformed in a false negative because we will not found that information. For that reason, the confidence level is very important, and understand all of that. We will go. This is the point. We need to identify that balance between the confidence level in the false positive, if we will use high confidence or low confidence, instead of lose some kind of information. Another very important point is understand the rate related to false positive or false negative, and how the regular expressions, the named entities, dictionaries, regular expression and keywords can be help us to reduce that rate of false positive and false negative. And at the final of this webinar, we will see all the stuff and some tips to working on exact data match. Exact data match will be very helpful for us to reduce that, but work with finally with the structured data. And normally our daily work is unstructured data. We need to understand all of that. And why it's very important to have trust sensitive info type, and that is one of the principal point. We can use the sensitive info types not only on DLP, we can use on auto labeling, MIP scanner, data discovery, Defender for Cloud Apps, advanced discovery, and inside the risk management. For this reason, it's very important to have sensitive info types that we can trust on them. What happened? On my experience working on DLP on several customers, normally when you start finding some false positive, the admin users start adding exceptions in the same DLP rule. They don't touch the sensitive info types. The problem with that is the next time that you need to create another DLP rule or another auto labeling policy, that sensitive info types is not the pure, is not clear, and we will need to start adding more exceptions, more exclusion, and several other things. That means we don't have a sensitive info types in which one we can trust. The idea of this webinar, or at least during the next 2 hours, is show to you how you can work on the sensitive info types, understand these kind of things, and go forward in this long path. This is very important. Working on Colombia, I have a good experience on Colombia. By a law, almost all the organizations, public and private, raise a list with all the information asset. The average of information asset in all the organizations is around 600. The information asset traduced in sensitive info types is around the 4 part. We are talking about 150 different kind of sensitive information types and complex sensitive information types. Why that reduction from 600 to 150? As an example, you can have an Excel file with an identity, a phone number, email address, some banking information, and depend of the source of that Excel, we can call that Excel as employees, vendors, customers, uh, providers for that reason. But finally, the pattern that we are looking is the same, is SSN or either national identification, phone number, email address. That is our sensitive information type. With that on mind, we will go forward. And one point, I was talking about 150 sensitive information types, complex in some cases, that the rate, and we will see all the step, but the normal rate to create sensitive info types is around 3 to 5 per week. That means we create the sensitive info type, but then we need to start monitoring what is happening in our environment, and based on that, start adding exclusion, adding several other stuff to have at the final one sensitive info types in which one we can trust. That is the most important point here. How we can configure the first one, and I will go to the demo, is through the Microsoft Purview portal. In the Microsoft Purview portal, that is compliance.microsoft.com, under data classification, we will find classifiers. And in classifier, we can see our sensitive info types. What's happened? And backing back to this low, medium, and high sensitive information, as I mentioned, with less evidence, we will talk about low confidence. With many evidence, we will talk about high confidence. A common one, I know that not all of you are coming from US, but this is very important to understand, and we need to go through this point. In this example, for the SSN, that is the national ID for United States, we can see here the patterns that we are looking for that information. And no matter if the sensitive info types is set in high, medium, or low confidence, in all the cases, we are looking for a sensitive info type plus the function for the number plus a keyword list. This is the keyword list. What's happened? Again, backing back to the same sample, the previous sample, if someone is sending a list of SSN number, we will not have a match, because no matter if you are setting in high, medium, or low confidence, in all the cases, we are looking for the number plus a word. That is very important to understand, and the same happen if you're looking for the as an example, the Canada driver license. I was working with people from Canada as well. The Canada driver license only have medium confidence. If we review all the patterns, they have all, for these sensitive info types, there only exists medium confidence. If you set on high, you will not have any match. That is the important point. Okay, let me now go to create our sensitive info types. To create our sensitive info types, we need to give a name. My recommendation in all the cases, try to use a prefix in your name, because that is more easily later to start finding that sensitive info types. If you use any name to filter, maybe you can filter by publisher, but it's more easily if we can filter by name. In that case, let me go to create my first sensitive info types. I will use that prefix, and someone on the week was, well, 2 weeks ago maybe, was asking me about the ISIN number. The ISIN number is an identifier for the international security identification numbers for organizations. The ISIN is formatted by 2-letter country code plus some additional numbers. I have here the list of all the code for all the countries. A common case is the regular expressions looking for any 2 letters. But the problem on that, you can have several of false positive. In that order of idea, here I have the regular expressions. We will go back soon to that one. My name, prefix. That is a recommendation to filtering more easily under auto-labeling MDCA, DLP to look in that information. Then we need to create our pattern. If we will use several evidence, the recommendation is at as high confidence, or if we will look in only for one match, we will use low confidence, and medium confidence is a balance between high confidence and low confidence. In this case, for this first example, is seen is a number by their own, and maybe we can take this regular expression. Give me a moment, and I will explain all of this. No worries. And we can add our primary element. As a primary element, we can look in for regular expressions, keyword lists, keyword dictionaries, or functions. In that case, we will use a regular expression, and I will call this one again. Please use prefix. I will explain soon why we are adding this name, because in the next exercise, I will show that we can reuse our regular expressions. That can be very helpful. Okay, I added my regular expression. I am setting this one in low confidence because I am not looking for any other kind of information, and I have my first pattern. But what happened? This is an ISIN, and I am looking only for the regular expression. Maybe that is not enough. In that case, I will create the high confidence. And instead of create the regular expression again, I can come into the library and start looking for all my previous sensitive info types. In this case, I will reuse the ISIN. And now I have my regular expression. If for any reason you are losing your information, you can reuse from here. And now what I need is some supporting element. Two supporting elements can be another regular expression, a keyword list, keyword dictionary, or a function. Keyword list is a list of 1,000, around 1,000 words with a long 50 character long each word. But on keyword dictionary, we can upload 100,000 of words more and more extended. In this case, I will use a keyword list. And again, I can add a name to this keyword list that will permit me to reuse in a future. And then I saw something, someone asking for case sensitive or case insensitive. In this case, we have the options for case insensitive or case sensitive in this case, or a string match or word match. I will explain with other examples that I have this difference between word match and a strict match, but I can add here is in as an example. One word is enough. In this case, you can see here to add more keywords, you need to separate by a new line. No comma, no other characters, is a new line to add that one. And now I have my two sensitive info types, related to the one sensitive info types with two patterns, one set on low and another set on high. And then here is the recommendation. If you have experience creating DLP rules or auto-labeling policies, every time that you select a sensitive info type, a confidence level is set by default. That default coming from this configuration. If you want to set as default the low confidence, you can do that recommendation, or we can set on high. Medium is disabled because in the previous uh, part, I only set for high and low confidence. That is enough to create our sensitive info type. On my case, to work with the sensitive to the regular expressions, I use this site, regex.com. This can be very helpful to understand and build our sensitive information types, because you can see here at the bottom all the explanation for all these regular expressions. In this case, I created this one based on the list of countries, and then let me back to here, all the possibles for countries, and then all the options for the numbers. Here coming all the configuration for all the possible countries to area code. And then we were saying that we have numbers, can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is that part and the rest. I will explain some quick exercise here to understand. Maybe if you was working on regular expressions, you saw several times that some stuff part with that kind of symbol of the dollar one. And here we can see the explanation at the bit. On my experience, the best way if you want to find something is use boundaries. I will explain in an easy case here. One, and this is a long topic, we can discuss a lot, but D is for any number, any digit characters. You can see here only the numbers are selected. But the problem is here, if I have a long extreme string with numbers and letters, some of that is collected. If I want to identify only one number, there is several options to end line or initial line, but that required a lot of other characters to implement. But if you use boundaries, with boundaries it's more easily to identify only the regular expressions that are you looking. It's a kind of word. I will looking back to the difference between word and string match in our regular expression. Then, if we want to look in for letters, we can use the W, the lowercase upper W that can be used. Someone was asking about uppercase or lowercase. The regular expressions are case sensitive. You need to establish very well what are you looking for that. And in that case, you will find lower cases or upper cases. If I want to look in for a more than one match, I can use one instance until two instance, or maybe more. In that case, only if I have 10 letters, in this case it's from 1 to 10, I am not using the \p at the final. if you use the \b at the final, you can see that you need to have 1 to 10 letters to have a match. There is several things that we can discuss here, but it's very important to understand. The advantage, at least from my side, to use this site, you can save your patterns, you can see the community patterns, and you have all the explanation on the bottom that can be used to easily create your sensitive info type. Here I have other examples. I was creating a sensitive info types for the US phone numbers. I have for other countries as well. But to show here, in this example, I have 6 patterns. In this sensitive info type, I have 6 patterns, 3 low and 3 high. Why I have too many patterns? Because the regular expressions for the phone numbers on United States, if I want to reduce the false positive, I need to use the area code. In that case, my regular expression that I can reuse in any moment is considering the area code. I have 3 regular expression, 1 to from the area codes from 200 until to 400. That is the regular expressions that I build for that. And then, and here coming the most important point, we can use case insensitive or case sensitive. You can decide that. And I am using a string match. And here at the bottom, I am using word match. I can have different groups, case sensitive or case insensitive, word match or string match related to as an evidence to the same regular expression. The primary element in general, as I mentioned, we can discuss about primary elements. Primary elements can be regular expressions or words as well. Last 2 weeks ago, I was working with another customers to build the sensitive info types based only on words. In that case, my primary element was a keyword list. But why we need to take care here on a string match or word match? A string match means if I have something as telephone, or will match as well if you have telephones in plural, or the same here, telephone numbers. On a string match, the only thing that we need is something that match in the middle, or at the beginning, or at the end. With the word font, I prefer to use a word match because this is only an example, but if I use phone as a string match, phone match with microphone, and microphone is not a word related to phone numbers. For that reason, we need to take care. That is another way to reduce false positive. Use a string match or word match. That is the way. The other option to reduce the false positive is reduce the character proximity. If I am looking for phone number and someone is writing the phone number, and if we saw the signatures, it's common see the word phone near to the phone number, not 150 or 200 far away from that number. With reducing the character proximity, we can reduce those false positive. The other advantage, and let me show here, when we use in this way the regular expression and the supporting element, if I make a change here, and I add a new word in this keyword list, I add telegraph as a word, that immediately is updated in all the patterns that are using the same keyword list. You can see here, I don't need to go through all of them making the change. The same happened with the regular expressions. You make a change on the regular expression and that immediately is refreshed for all of the rest of pattern. The only thing to have in mind, normally when you make any change in your regular expressions in your keyword list, that take around 10 to 15 minutes to be reflected in, as an example, in a DLP rule like on Exchange. That is something that we will see in a while, but that is normally the time that take to refresh that information. That means if we are working on production and you're seeing that sensitive information types is making a lot of noise in your DLP rules for Exchange normally, uh, you can come in here, you can add an exception. I will show you that as well. And that in that moment that you add that exception, the time to be refreshed in your DLP rules will be around 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you will still start seeing that that DLP rule that was matching will be reduced based on that exception. That is in general how we can use the web interface to create our sensitive info types. But what's happened, normally that is not enough, and we need to go to more in deep, and we can use the PowerShell commandlet. To do that, we need to understand, this is very similar to the web interface. We have an ID match. The ID match is our primary element. We have a pattern proximity that is the same that character proximity. If it's set to 300 by default, that means we are looking for 150 to the left and 150 characters to the right for additional evidence that is called match. I am explaining that one because to work on PowerShell, we need to work using an XML file. The XML file will help us to create several different kind of sensitive information type. On my past experience working on the sensitive information types, my first mistake was create one sensitive information types by rule pack. We have a limit. In each tenant, you can have a limit of 10 rule packs. And one of that 10 rule packs is taken by the Microsoft site. And that means we can have other 9 rule packs that we can use. The rule pack permit to have several of different sensitive information types. To create our XML, this is the structure. We need to a rule pack ID. This is a global unique ID. That means if you create your rule pack ID, we need to avoid match with any other rule pack around the world over all the tenant. If you want to create a random ID, here is the command that we can use to create that one. That one is used for your rule pack. If you make change in your rule pack, we will maintain the unique ID and we will use the command set. I will show you that on PowerShell as well. Then comment another publisher ID. This is a unique ID, can be reused every time. Normally in all the XML files that I created in my past life here on Microsoft, I use always the same unique ID. The publisher name is the one that is shown. Let me back to that place. Let me cancel this one. Is in this column, this publisher. That is the one that is shown there. The rest of information can be only see it through a PowerShell. Then in our XML file coming the entities. The entities are this pattern, this logical connection for our sensitive info types. The sensitive info types is the entity, and inside we can have different patterns. In this case, in this example, I am setting the character, the proximity windows to 300. I am setting the medium confidence level as a default, and I am saying, okay, my patterns use a regular expression as a primary element, that is the ID match, and then we need an additional, here we can see the logical connector in any of this configuration, and a match for our regular expressions. This is only an example, for that reason is repeat twice. And then the other options is use this any capability. In this case, we can have different kind of matches as an additional evidence for this primary element. Or if you want to exclude, this is the way: min match 0 and max match 0. And then we can add our exclusion. In the XML file, we will find all the entities at the beginnings. After the entities, if we have several of sensitive information types, I have some examples working in other customers with 80 entities in the same rule pack. And again, after all the entities, we can start adding the regular expressions. We will have a part in our XML with the regular expressions, and then with all the keyword lists. To finish at the final with the name. Here, we need to take care for this entity, we are using a global unique ID, and that global unique ID is used here to give a name. That is the name that appears in our compliance portal, in the Microsoft Purview portal under classifier. That is the name for our sensitive info types when we are working on XML. We need to take care on this point to, and I will explain some tips to work with that. Okay, I will go to the demo. I will show the common first questions related to the Microsoft rule pack. First of all, I need to connect to the information protection PowerShell session. And by the way, I put on the slide, the slide will be shared later, but take care because that connection will have some modifications soon. Sorry for that. Here is the link. I will share the link later. But if you want to see, you can look in for deprecation of remote PowerShell protocol in security and compliance PowerShell. That means that we will need another way to make the connection to the service. But backing back to the demo, let me show here. I need to I need to connect first. Another point here, if you connect using only this command without this attribute, the connection is created for only 1 hour, and after 1 hour, the connection is dropped. But when you use as an attribute your user principal name, that connection is created as persistent, and you can work more easily for more time with your connection. Then I will remove from here. I was making a a backup just now. But if I want to obtain the Microsoft rulebook, that is all, a one that all the people ask, I will execute this command. And after that, over here, I am sending all the information to this file. And now if I come in here and I open, you can see here, we have the header with the rule pack ID, the rule pack name. And then this is in the rule pack name, this is very important. We can set the different names in different language. If you connect using your browser to the Microsoft Purview portal in Spain, French, German, or any other language, the information is shown in different language based on this information. By default, it's used on English. But as I mentioned previously, after the rule pack header, we can start seeing all the functions or all the entities related to each sensitivity information types. Here we can see the credit card numbers with the function credit card number set on high, with the CC verification keyword list, the CC name keyword list, the function expiration date. And in low confidence, we can see that we are looking only for the number. And the same happened with several hundreds of different sensitive info types. As I mentioned previously, after all the entities, we will start seeing over here, that is still coming all the entities, then coming some regular expressions. This is only the regular expressions that you can see, as several regular expressions are managed right now as a function, because as managed as a function, you cannot see the regular expression. That is a kind of secret from our side, because the idea is avoid to someone understand the regular expression and find a way to skip that kind of DLP rules and that kind of things, but are still showing some regular expressions in this rule pack. And then coming all the keywords, that is the order of our XML. You can see here all the keyword list for each one. And at the final, we start adding the names for each entity. We can do the same for each entity. We can set different names depend of the default language. If we're looking for this one, this is the entity. I can look in at the top, pin next, and here we can see the entity, the logical connection for that one. That is in general the structure of an XML. But okay, I want to collect my information. In that case, I can easily come in here. Oh, let me connect. Sorry, I'm not connecting to this PowerShell 5. I will connect again to the session using PowerShell 5. Give me a moment. Now we saw the Microsoft one, but one of the most important points to work here is have a DLP compliance, DLP rule package, is have a backup of our sensitive info types. Inclusive, if you are working in your demo environment, some of you have a pre-production environment to test some stuff, but you create the sensitive information types, and previous to move to production, you want to avoid to do all of that manually. You can easily looking for your custom sensitive info types. I will take this internal use, and we can make a copy of that. We can export that and then import in our environment. In this case, give me a moment and I will show the command used to do that action. In some cases, you can see this name. This name is created automatically when you are using the web interface. When you are using the web interface, we saw that name to related to, but inclusive. From here, we can obtain the information. To do that, normally we need to understand we need to looking for the distinguished name. In that case, it's a little more complicated, but we can run this one with a pipe and use a FL with the name, and the other one is the this thing. Give me a moment to copy from here. And in that case, we can obtain all the different names and this distinguished name. We will use that distinguished name, and here you can see I will take from one from the web interface, and the only thing that I need to do is come in here. Yeah, let me copy this command. Let me copy this command. Sorry. Control C. And now this one. And the ID of the distinguished name. In this case, if we want to take, I know that all of these are created by my, but I want to take this one that was created from the web interface. I use that command, and then let me use this another one. Now I am taking all the information from here and I am creating the XML file. Now, if I go back to here, I can see all my XML. Okay, I know that I am not seeing anything here, but I have let me see the plugin. Oh, I don't have the plugin here. Give me a moment. This is another tip. If you want to see, I will install the XML tools. A moment. This is quick. And now I can use pretty print, and now I am seeing all my in the right way. Again, we have the header with the rule pack ID. This is only for me. Then I have all the entities. Each entity is separate. Each of these one are sensitive information types. And here at bottom, we will see the names of all of them. After the entities, we can find the regular expressions. And after the regular expressions, we can find the names of each one. I will make a very simple case on this to show. I exported my rule packs for this one. Let me take something easily to show. Okay, we saw that I have some DBs, sensitive info types. I want to change that DBs by my own. In that case, we can add, as an example, we can change that the DBs control. And I will replace that DBs by KD. uh, replace all. I replace it all of them. I can save this one. And now to import my rule pack, give me a moment to take that one. Oh, here is the comment. Let me clear the sorry. And so I need to use this one is the exported one. Yes to all. And now if I come back here, sorry, to this one, and I'm looking again for DB. Let me close here. DB. I need to refresh this one, sorry, refresh. Okay. All the DBs one disappear, but now if I log in for KD, all the previous that was called DB now appear as KD. That was a very quick change, but we can change the regular expressions. We can add more keywords. We can replace the keywords. We can do several things in the XML file to improve the result. Or, as I mentioned, you can take from here and then you can import in another environment. The other thing, as I mentioned, and this can be a tip, we need a global unique ID. When you work in this way, we know that the machine is working in the background and the same service in the background maintain the confidence and the integrity between the each number and the other ones. But in general, the other option that I normally use to avoid lose one of the entities when we have uh, a long solution is, give me a moment, and I will show another XML that I was working on. But it's very similar, the exercise. What we can do is take one of those unique IDs, and then we can reuse that unique ID and replace a couple of numbers and start using the same number. Let me show here. Give me a moment. Wait a moment, please. I will move here. In this case, it's only to show this is a big one that I created, but you can see here to avoid have any problem at the final when I have several of entities, I can take one of the numbers and I can start making some changes. In this case, was not the appropriate order if you want to go one by one, because is not making sense from a sequence number, at least in the real number. But I take this one, I am start 08, 18, 28. That permit me at the bottom to identify and validate that I have all my own entities and validate that all my entities have a name. Because if you have any issue, I will do that right now as an example. This is only an example. But if I forget to add the name for one of my entities, if I forget to add the name for one of my entities, and I try to do the same exercise to update, I will receive an error. Why? Because not all the entities have a name. That is the reason why we need to have an order related to the sensitive info types, the entities, and the names. Okay, let me continue here. As I mentioned, I will share this presentation as well. You can find the command that I am using to create these sensitive info types, export your data, and import. We was reviewing all of these about the entities. The entity is the pattern, the sensitive information type. We can have different patterns, and each pattern needs a primary element. The primary element can be the only connection for that, or we can add more information to that one. Now, and this is very important, I will go to exact data match. I know that we are viewing very quick all these topics. Normally, we can use easily 1 week to go from regular expressions, understand all the options on regular expressions, go more in deep with different examples of keyword, but based on the time, we will go quick with the next topics, that is exact data match. Exact data match is finally for structured data for databases. Regular expressions, built-in and custom sensitive info types are related to unstructured data. But if you have a structured data like databases, we can use exact data match. Exact data match today permit to upload 100 millions of rows, 32 columns. You can use 10 columns as a primary element. You can update 5 times per day. And another common question, you can automatize this activity through PowerShell and a task on task scheduler for all of that. But what we need to do to work with EDM, we need to identify the column's name. Here we have some specific point that we need to have on mind. Today, the EDM schema doesn't support names with 2 letters. We need 3 letters or more, and we are not supporting symbol. That means if you have a composite name, you need to add all the words without an underscore or a dash or any other symbol. We will need to identify our primary element. We need to validate each primary element. There is coming some new stuff in the roadmap, but today we need to validate each primary element and identify that primary element and check any other element that can be helpful. And then we can create the EDM schema. Another point is all the data is uploaded as hatch. The principal informations remain in your local drive, and when you upload the data, the data is uploaded as a hatch, remaining a copy in your local drive, and in the cloud, the hatch information. Let's go to this one. Okay. First thing, we need to our data. I created this database with phone numbers, with credit card numbers, with SSN, and several things. I will show a tip here. Happens a lot that when we are creating sensitive information types, we have problems with the sample data. That is normally a big deal, and we need to do something. But Unfortunately, on the same Microsoft site, we can have an option for that. If you go to your Microsoft 365 admin center at admin.microsoft.com, in the principal page, you can find this option that is called Advanced Deployment Guide and Assistance. Please take your time to review after this webinar. I will go very quick. In this case, go to Secure Score, and in Secure Score, you will find Microsoft Purview Information Protection Setup Guide. In the Setup Guide, again, there are several things that you can review here, but for the moment, I will go next. And here in the DLP test harness, you can download this script. Why we need to do that? Because that script is Azure. That script, here you can see I have the script. If I use that script, let me log in with my admin account. Okay, you're gonna read to the following. Okay, I have several connections to that run space. Give me a moment to execute again. Sorry for that. I was connecting several times those days. For that reason, I have taken all the connections. Let me see. Okay, I'm still exceeding the connections allowed. Let me see if I can connect from another place. Here, give me a moment. I have the same MIP. I have the same MIP over here on DLP. Yes, it's here. Give me a moment. CD, TMP, DLP. Okay, now it's working here. This is very important. It's taking a minute. This one is at the moment that you execute. If some modules are not in your computer, the same script install all the dependencies, all the PowerShell module dependencies in your computer, and then start reading all your DLP rules, policies that you have in your environment to see all of them and make some recommendations. But in this case, I will go to the bottom one, and here you can see that several sensitivity information types that are available in my environment, I can reuse it. If I want, as an example, the Croatia driver license number, I can select that one. I want to say I want 50 of them to test. I press the preview option, and now I have 50 driver license from Croatia with the names and the rest of information that I need. The same happened with, let me see, Swift code. I want 50 Swift code, I press preview, and now I have 50 Swift code that I can use as a sample data. In that order of idea, I use that option to build this database. Now, what happened? And this is very important. This is my database. The first thing that I need to understand when we create the EDM schema, if our database in this case have 16 columns, I need to add the 16 columns name. A common error that I saw in different customers, the columns names added are only the ones that are used as a primary element. Doesn't work. If you have 16 columns, you need to add the 16 column names to your environment. After that, if I say my primary element will be the SSN number, the IT number, and the phone number, in that case, I need to validate if the built-in sensitive information types are okay or not. What happened? Let me go here. If I look in, and as I mentioned, we need to understand very well the sensitive information types. If I look in for the Microsoft SSN, this is the Microsoft SSN, I have the option to test. And if I test uploading my database, you can see here that I have only a few matches, only two, because these two SSN are near in this table to the SSN column. But in general, happens that, and for that reason, it's very important, understand the sensitive information types. When someone is taking a database, the SSN word doesn't appear in all the places. In that case, we need to have another one without the word, without requiring the word. Some option is make a copy. From here, we can copy this built-in sensitive information type. We can clone that one, and based on that, we can create our own sensitive info type. Here I have some issue with, let me, here I have the copy. And now I can edit this copy. First of all, I can change the name. I can use a prefix to easily understand with my information. I will add a prefix to easily understand with my information. This is a copy without SSN. And in that case, what I will do, here you can see, for high confidence, I am looking for the function SSN plus some additional words. I can come in here, well, I removed previously, and I remove the SSN in all the cases. For all the patterns, if I compare, let me show here, duplicate tab. In the original one, for the SSN, one moment, please. Here I have the second copy. Let me go to this one. This is a second copy that was created, taking a little more time. And as I mentioned, we can do that. We can come in here and, okay, it's showing me the same. And we can remove the SSN for each one. That is the big deal here. For each one, we can remove here on the details. We can see that the keyword supporting element is the keyword SSN. From here, I remove all that keyword SSN. And now, if I do the same test, I will upload the same file. Now I have a match. That is the important point. Now, my next sensitive info type that I want to use is the item. That is the tax identifier. If I'm looking for the tax identifier, I can come in here to see the details, but there is a low confidence that is not using keyword. In that case, let me test. If not, I can use the copy. I can select. I need to do this step for each column that I will use as a primary element to stay 100% sure that the information is detected. If not, the most common scenario will be that the EDM, the exit data match, doesn't work. On this case, I select 3 columns as a primary element. Now I need to test the last one. The last one is the phone number. I created this phone number for US. Let me test. Upload file, database, and I have my matches. That is the information that I was looking for. Now I can create my classifier. I will create my EDM. Again, sometimes it's better if you use prefix to easily identify your information. This is CAS demos employee data. And the new interface permits to upload a sample data file. We can use that one to easily create all our structure. I will take my database, and this will detect all the columns, all the files and the data, and will give me some recommendation about the sensitive info type that I can use. A common issue, this is, I will show this one, sorry for that, give me a moment. A common issue that I saw several times. Let me, don't convert, let me make a copy, save as, with errors. I will change this SSN by ID, and this was another problem that I have for a moment, was use an space. I will save this one, and what's happened? If I come in here and I try to create my EDM data classification based on those file on that file, and if I try to upload the file, where was located the one that is saved with okay, something was wrong on my side. Let me see my police. 1 minute. I opened this one and I don't convert. File save as was created. Oh, okay, so that was my error. That was not in the right place. Employee database with errors. Save. And now I'll close this one. Let me go here, quick, upload file. And at the moment that I try to use this one, I will receive an error because, as I mentioned previously, the columns needs to be, okay, okay, sorry, I don't add the errors. Give me a moment. My apologies again. Sorry, let me, this with the errors. I was saying that don't convert. I want to change this one as an ID, And in this full name, I will add a space, save, close. Now we will see the error. If I select the file, re-upload the file. Now with error, okay, you can see here. The first thing is you see this one because the file needs to have 3 long characters and no spaces. I can add a third letter and I will still having the problems until I remove the space. That is very important to work on that. If not, that will not work. We need to take the time, we need to upload the file. In the worst case, you need to create this manually and add all the columns manually. But uploading the file, the one that is working, this one, all the columns are correctly fixed with the 3 letters and all of that, we will see all our information. And now we need to select the primary elements that we will use to detect our data. What means the primary element? The same that we was viewing in the presentation. And let me going back to that specific slide. One moment, please. In this specific slide, we was talking about the primary element, the supporting element, and the character proximity. We need to select the primary element. The supporting element doesn't work independently. Always is required the primary element. For that reason, we were saying that for us, we will use the primary element and we will set the sensitive info type for that primary element. In this case, the copy that I created for that one. In this case, I created sensitive info types that match with any kind of word or number. For that reason, that was select for all my sensitive information types because I can have match for anything with that regular expression that I created. But we need to take care on that point. Now I will say, okay, for the tax number, I need to use the US tax identity. I will use that as a primary element. And the other one that I was saying that I will use is the phone number. I need to look in for that sensitive info type. I need to select the sensitive info types. And now I can enable that as a primary element. I can add, as an example, full name as additional evidence, but not as a primary element. If I want to improve the result, I can select other sensitive info types that I know that match with the columns, but are not as a primary element. Why I need to do that? And this is very important. The primary element is very important because, as we saw here, if someone take this extraction from the database, I will have a match. If someone take this information, I will have a match. If someone take this information, I will not have a match because I don't have any primary element in the selection. And if someone take this information, that is a depends. And I will show you that in the next step. But this is very important to understand in the way which kind of information in our database, in our structured database, if someone extract part of that, is a leak or not. If someone maybe take that information, it's not a big deal. But here I am not seeing if someone take the names and the critical numbers. In that case, I need to, in some moment, add maybe this column as a primary element and take the actions for that primary element to convert this from red to green, to something that I will discover. Let me go to the next step with the extra data match. On my case, I selected only 3 of them as a primary element. Now, in this case, for the column settings, I know if I am using date or in some last name like O'Reilly, there is some apostrophe characters. If some of that characters are making noise on my environment, I can go through all the columns and selecting the specific characters that I want to skip, or I can have the same configuration for all my columns. And again, if I want to have case sensitive or case insensitive, here I can select that. In this last step, and here's the most important point, and for that reason, I was saying here, this is a depend, is this one. You can see here for the each of our primary element, I can set 2 level of, by default, a confidence level, high or medium. In the high, we are looking for SSN plus any of 2 additional supporting element. With any, we are saying if someone have this one and this one and maybe this one, I will have a match because it's this primary element plus any of 2 additional evidence. That is another way to reduce false positive. If someone is sending a meeting notes, maybe in a meeting notes, you will have email address, you will have phone numbers, maybe you will have SSN or some other information. In that order of idea, you can select that SSN with other columns, make a change, make a match, or if some of this information can be removed from this one. And in medium confidence, we are saying SSN plus any of additional supporting element. This configuration can be set for each one, or you can say, okay, no, 2 for the SSN is not enough with only 2 supporting elements. I can request 3 or 4 or 5. And in that case, you can see here, now I can add some additional supporting element on medium confidence. The same happened with the ITIN and the same happened with the phone number. Having all of that, I have my EDM schema, but having the EDM schema is not ready. With this one, I need to upload the data. That is very important. I need to upload the data. Fortunately, I do that previously. We can review that configuration. And let's go here, EDM. And you can see that I created this employees data. And to complete the next steps, the first thing that we need to do is in our environment, in our tenant, we need to create a group with this specific number name. It's a security group, EDM data uploaders. No other permissions are required. No other configuration are required. The only thing that you need to do is create this group and add user to this group. And those users added to this one will have the capability to upload EDM data. If you don't have this group, you cannot do that. Having this group, in this case, my own user is member of this group. In that case, what I need to do is download the agent to upload the data. That agent is available here. We have, depending if your environment is GCC or GCC high, maybe you need to download other version of the agent. But from here, you can download the EDM upload agent. The EDM upload agent is used through the command prompt. We will need to use the command prompt with admin right. After you install the EDM upload agent, that agent is installed under program files, Microsoft, sorry, program files, Microsoft, EDM upload agent, and here we have the agents that we will need to work in our environment. The first thing that we need to do is authorize the connection. We will execute this one with the authorize option. That will request our credentials. In this case, we need someone with the permissions in that as a member of that group. And then we need to download the XML file created for our EDM schema. Here you can see our EDM schema have a name. In this case, I was trying to finish this one. Let me see. But here is my employee EDM schema name. That is employee data schema. We will need that export that information. Another common issue, I don't know why it's happening that, another common issue is when you finish that step, I don't know what's happening on my environment, normally after do that step can take around 20 minutes to be available, that schema to be downloaded. And normally you will see an error every time that you try to download that specific schema. On that case, let me come in here from the command prompt, sorry. From the command prompt, the first thing that I need to do is, as I mentioned, download the schema. Here, I need to copy that schema name. I will take from here, employees data schema. And my output is, for now, is the webinar folder. And here now, we can see that employees data schema. This employees data schema is the same, are the same column name, and this is the same configuration that we do in our environment in the web interface. That means we can create this schema manually as well, but in general, create through the web interface is very easily and more quick. I have my schema, and then I need to take the information and upload the information. All the steps can be do it one by one, but to instead of the time, I will do this very quick in only one command. I will change this one here on the webinar folder. I have the CSV file with the same name. You can see here is the same name from the schema. This is the database. Here's the schema. Sorry, here is the schema. Take care on that point. My apologies. The other one is my database. I need to, here is the hatch folder. You need to set a hatch folder. I will show that what is stored there. And the database for me is this one, employees database. Control C, employees database. By the way, you can see I am using the documentation that is available on GitHub. On my experience, I use it all the time, this configuration, and it's very well to go through all these steps. And now that I have my complete command, I will take this one, Control C, and command prompt is not a PowerShell. I will execute this one. What I am doing is uploading the data, but to this using this EDM schema, I am uploading that database on CSV file. The hatch location, we was saying that the information is uploaded as a hatch. Normally, what we do is create the hatch first and then upload the hatch. I am doing all the stuff in one query only. And then the schema that we need to use. And we can permit a certain kind of percentage of bad lines. If you have errors, you can still upload in the data and then fix that specific errors. This is a percentage. You can use 0 or 1 to 100. That is in this case, I don't have any error. Normally, if you have an error, you will see a message saying 98% of the lines will be uploaded correctly, 2% was an error. But in this case, I upload all the information at once. And here, if I go to the hatch, this is the information that was uploaded to Microsoft 365. For each field, all the data was hatched previous to be uploaded. The system in the background used the hatch to collect the data and identify the data, but all the information that is stored on the cloud have this format. That is very important to have in mind. And okay, what's happened? I was showing here if I upload some information with the primary element, I was saying I will have the match. But if I upload some information without the match, I will not have any information. Here we can see no match. That is the same information that take from here. And here I take some information from the item place, and the other one is with the CSV, the complete file. If I go here, this information appear under sensitive info types. Now, if I'm looking for my employee data, here is my exact data match. I can select and I can test. If I upload the original file, yes, I will have matches because it's the same information. That is the expected behavior. We will see only the first primary element matching. That is okay. Okay, but I want to test without the SSN. I have here the same database without the SSN, and the next columns that make matches is the primary element, the tax identifier. That is the column tax identifier. You can see here 903, 903. But if I take information like an extract, I was showing that I am taking this extract from here. I have the matches. All of that is identified. But if I take this another information, the red one, I will not have any match because I don't have any primary element. That is very important. You need to take time to review your database, identify the sensitive info type, the columns that will be primary element. In this case, I need to add the credit card numbers as a primary element in this case, because if more people start taking this information, that for me is a data exfiltration, data leak, and nothing is happening. That are the common cases with Excel data match. And the advantage, as I mentioned previously, with Excel data match, if that information can be used for any solution. In this case, here we can see this is another solution that I built. It's called MPAR, Microsoft Purview Advanced Reach Report. Permit me to identify Excel data match from the MIP scanner. And in this case, I created previously another EDM. I run in the scanner, and the scanner detect that match in all those files. Or in the case of DLP, we can, I don't have yes, this is the superhero is an EDM. You can see here, give me a moment. You can see here that in my EDM classifier, I have that one cast superheroes, the data set. In that case, we can easily see on DLP, in the DLP matches, where that information is located. For that reason, we was talking at the beginnings, that is very important going through all these steps, have sensitive information types that we can trust to go forward and obtain all that information. The best way, and that is the last point, to debug the sensitive information types, at least my recommendation is create a policy over Exchange to do that. The common case when we create our sensitive information types is we create our own uh, sample data, but using our own sample data, almost all the time that works. But after that, if we start putting that on production, we start reviewing several of false positive. For that reason, my recommendation is create a policy over Exchange over all the emails, and then create your rule to identify that the sensitive information are sent outside your organization without any action, without any alert, without any policy tips, but creating an incident report. Because when you obtain the incident report, let me coming back here. On the incident report, I am sending the incident report to a char mailbox. I can start seeing all the detections. The outlook is this one. And I can see who is sending, who is receiving. But this is the most important point, the context. The context permit me to see if I have some false positive that I need to fix. In that order of idea, if I have some false positive that I need to fix, I can come back to my sensitive info types. Let me go here to classifiers, sensitive info type. I was doing something on credentials. This one, I believe. I can edit here. And to my patterns, I can start adding some exclusion list. Here in the supporting element, I have a list of additional information, but I have this option, not any of these. And here I can start building all my keyword lists with some exception. Instead, to create exclusion in the same DLP rule, I can come in back to the sensitive information types and start adding that exclusion directly in the sensitive info type. Why do that? Because we need to have a sensitive info types in which one we can trust. Because if we can trust on that sensitive information type, we can use that sensitive information type for all those services. Data loss prevention, MIP scanner, auto labeling, Content Explorer, Defender for Cloud, eDiscover, Insider Risk Management, and in other capabilities as well. That was a very quick overview. We are almost over the time, and the idea is have some questions and answer. And please, Bini, if you can help me on that. I don't know if there's more questions, comments, or something that you want to share with me.
Yes, sure. I tried to answer as much question as I could. Um, Obviously, there were some that were very specifics that I left that to you. And let me start by the first question that I added here. Give me a
So,
second.
okay, no problem. Meanwhile, please, all the people that is participating on this webinar, you can read the QR, or if you go to this URL, you can complete a survey to see and receive your feedback related to this topic.
Okay.
Okay, Bini, please.
Yeah, sure. Um, so there was the first question. Is the DLP test form that you were showing native to Microsoft, or is it that a third-party tool?
No, it's from Microsoft.
Okay.
Our same product group released that option maybe 1 or 1 year and a half ago, and
Mm-hmm.
that is very helpful in general. At least for me, that is the first moment that we can test. But uh, after uh, uh, after a while, I prefer to use this kind of DLP rule that I was showing over all the mail flow. Why over the mail flow? Because we need to identify false positive. We need to work with real data. If we set the policy in test mode, we are not touching anything. We are not making any action, but we can have all that feedback to validate our sensitive information types, apply any exception, apply anything, and that help us finally to create and depure our sensitive information type.
Okay. Also, someone mentioned about when you upload the information to the portal to EDM, they were kind of concerned of privacy issues. Um, when you upload the test data, like for example, if they uploaded credit card numbers or social security numbers, they were worried about the privacy issue that may raise. But in the end, and correct me here, the actual data is not uploaded. It's just a hash like you showed.
Yes, it's only the hatch that is uploaded and use a specific key for each tenant, and no one can return that information. On my case, I did all the command in once, but you can separate the command, and first of all create the hatch, and then use the command to upload only the hatch to stay 100% sure. On this case, only for time, I do all the steps in one shot.
Okay. I have another attendee that had a specific case um, that he had a massive list of. You know what? I'm gonna leave the cases for the end and just go straight to the questions.
Okay, no,
Um,
no, no.
yeah. Um, the next question is: are primary elements also considered as supporting elements in case you extract only primary elements?
That is a big depend, as I was showing here. in the here. In this case, for exact data match, and for that reason, we have the different confidence level. In this case, uh, my default configuration is one of the primary element plus two additional evidence. If someone is taking a list of the phone number of the SSN, they will not have a match because the two options configured here is in the EDM. Sorry, let me go quick here. Pacifier, EDM. In this one, I was selecting for each sensitive info type in high confidence, two additional elements. If we want to reduce that one, what we can do is in this, in this one, as an example for SSN, I can edit this one. I have the high is SSN plus two evidence, SSN plus one, and low confidence that looking only for the SSN. That is the option to identify only the primary element. Inclusive, backing back to that question and the DLP rules, and let me show very quick. That is another common issue is the rules related to low and high volume. But finally, I want to find credit card numbers. In that case, I will show quick here if the console permit me to do that. One of the thing, and I saw one question with on and are all the logical connection with and or is here. And this is something that almost all the people lost this option. Here on the in this financial one that I was working, if someone is sharing outside my organization, I can do something like this one. I have in another rule, sorry, in the credit card. Where is PCI? This one. Here you can say, okay, I will count in high confidence between 1 to 10 as an example, and then I can use this or here and say content contains sensitive information types, credit card numbers. Where is the credit card numbers? Credit card numbers and low confidence from 11 to any. Because in this balance to false negative, false positive, reduce false positive, is difficult if someone is sharing 1 to inclusive 5 credit card numbers. They normally send the complete credit card numbers with all the details of the credit card number. But if someone is taking a list as the same exercise that we are doing in the table with all the credit card numbers, they will not have the branding or the keywords related to CVV or the expiration date. In that case, it's better in a DLP rule, as an example, set this kind of configuration. High confidence, I will looking for the number plus all the rest of the evidence between 1 to 5. But if I found only numbers from 6 to any, this DLP rule will be triggered because it's very difficult in one document, in one email, have 6 or more false positive. That is normally the way in which we are reducing that rate and maintaining and avoiding to have a false negative as we was discussing at the beginnings.
I also pasted
Other
you.
question?
I also pasted you a long case on your chat. I can read it, but it's long. I prefer if you can read it on your side.
Okay, let me see here. Give me a moment, I'm looking. Uh, if you have a list of things that match, that there is several things that we can use as an example. When we add exceptions in the sensitive info types, it's related to what's happening if I have a big number of exceptions or some information match. That's the point that I am understanding, reading very quick the question. But remember, when you have a sensitive info type, in this part, when we can add uh, not any of these, one of the options that we have is a keyword dictionary. In a keyword dictionary, you can add 100,000 of word or number or anything that you want to make an exception. Or in the other case, normally when the list is long, I try to use a regular expression. I try to understand what I am trying to accept and work on that regular expression to avoid that. But we have several options. If these cases when we have some matches that we want to exclude, keyword dictionary can be an option to avoid that because it's 100,000 of exceptions, or we can use a regular expression. Each case is needed to be a study, but at least on my case, I go very with several win cases in several customers, inclusive a big customer that was moving from another third-party DLP rule that was years ago was challenged me to move and create the same rules in our site, and all of that works. Inclusive, they challenged me because in their tenant they have more than 400 domains, and that, yes, that was a big challenge. But finally, we resolve all of that. Only take time.
Um,
Uh,
there was another case that is there
okay,
a way
there
to
is a way
build?
to
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
something like following project who must compliance sex max boxes. Not in the web interface is very helpful for several stuff, but there is still some configurations, at least for me, can be more easily through the XML file. And in that case, we can create the XML file to find some specific kind of sensitive information types using dictionaries and making all the mix in that configuration. But I don't know if that is the specific option. As I mentioned, if I read boxes, I assume that someone's selecting. That is something that we can use with logical connectors in our queries. Let me go quick to that specific slide. But at least on my case, when I have that kind of cases, using the XML file is easily to set and connectors and or connectors. In that case, understanding that the boxes with several options, in this one, I can have several ors and say min matches 2, 3, 4, 5. I have that cases that from very long keyword list and several keyword lists, I needed 2 or 3 matches for 10 keyword lists. In that case, I can select from 10 different keyword lists, have 2 or 3 matches from the different lists. That is an option to try to cover that exercise. I hope that answer in some way. But again, that specific cases can be a study, but normally that can be resolved. At least on my experience, take me less time. For that reason, some colleagues write me to help them to create this one. But yes, that is something that we can resolve. Any other questions or comment, Bini, that you want to share?
Yeah, can you use EDM sensitive information source table to create exclusions? For example, if you have an exact account number, that should not generate an sensitive information type hit.
In that case, it's better to remove that information from the database, the structured data, when that information is export, because EDM on EDM we can only upload the data, and EDM is thought to have a match, not have an exclusion. If I looking for my employee data here on the sensitive info type, I cannot exclude. Here we can see I cannot edit because EDM is thought to identify your database, your structured database. If someone is extracting part of that database, we need to have a match. But if you want to avoid certain kind of information, in that case, what we can do is remove that data, or the other option is in the DLP rule. Let me back to the DLP rule. Say, let me show that quickly here. EDM with exception. It's not in the same sensitive info type, but you can say here, if the content contain, and here I will looking for the sensitive, the employee data. And then what can I do is add in a group, say doesn't contain, content contain, this kind of sensitive information types, and I can create a sensitive information types, keyword dictionary, keyword list, regular expression, to avoid that specific information. In that case, if someone is extracting data but contain credentials, is to say something, that will not have a match, and you have deception. That can be an approach for that.
Okay. We have another question. Can custom SIT be shared use with party vendors who recognize MIP labels?
Again, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. Can custom SIT be shared used with third-party vendors? If the SITs can be shared with other tools. Um,
No, EDM is a part of each solution. I know that Symantec, McAfee, Proofpoint have their own EDM capabilities, and you need to upload the data in those ones. The other option can be if you detect an EDM sensitive information types in an email, you can modify the header with a main flow rule, or with the same Microsoft Purview, you can change the attribute or some specific property on the document or apply a label. And based on that, the third party DLP rule can take some action, reading some header, some property, or some sensitivity label. Reading that the metadata, we can take some action. And
okay.
what we can do here is with using the Microsoft Purview, mark that document or that email that contained that EDM. And then from the DLP rule, take some action.
We have time for one more question. Do you have a quick reference for understanding the timelines we can expect for syncing certain policy settings? So basically, how long does the policy and settings take
Oh, that
to sync?
is a tricky question, because if you read our public information, in all the cases show us 24 hours. On my experience, for exchange in a common day, in a normal day, is only take 10 to 15 minutes to refresh. For SharePoint on OneDrive can be several hours, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours. On Teams, in less than an hour is refreshed. That is an empiric information. Our public information is still saying 24 hours, but on my case is quick, is very quick that point. And in endpoint, normally is taking 1 to 2 hours to refresh. That's in general how it works. I saw that someone, I can share the XML later with the PowerPoint, but using the same command, you can export the current information from your tenant, and you can use that one as a baseline in the XML. But no worries, I can share an XML file that I have for demos and with the presentation. We are over the time. Thanks a lot for all the people that was participate on this webinar. I will receive your feedback from the survey, and I hope that permit us to do this workshop, this webinar, this workshop again, or maybe you can contact your Microsoft people for your account, and we can continue on that. Someone was raising hand. I don't know if one was to say something. You are welcome to say anything to this one. I really appreciate if you take advantage for this webinar. Thanks a lot for all of your participation. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
Thanks all.